that student debt is the number one stressor for many Americans, for many people around the world. So it is a systematic thing that people need to go through, and that is nothing to be ashamed of if you have to look for different ways to better position yourself and your financial future. The shame comes when you think, I should have the funds, and because I don't, then the shame has a space to appear. This is the Brown Way to Money podcast, where women of color in business find their financial independence path. Because financial success is within our reach, but by playing by their rules, it is only going to take us halfway there. To succeed, we must take ownership of our voice with money. So, welcome to the Brown Way to Money podcast. For a lot of Americans, for a lot of people around the world, student debt is something that is ranking super high on the list of financial anxiety triggers. So I'm very excited to have you here. Welcome, welcome. Please introduce yourself to those who don't know you, and let's start having this deep dive.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And yes, this is a topic that we need to talk about because I definitely know from my own experience and my own journey being a first-gen college grad that there's just so much noise. So as you mentioned, my name is Haleini Vasquez. I am a first-generation Latina and the founder and CEO of Your Evolved Mind, which is a career consulting platform dedicated to supporting the next generation to achieve career success. So we're talking college students, recent grads, and early career professionals. And I'm so excited to be here today to talk about a topic that is absolutely needed.
Yes. So here's the thing. 42% of Latinos that have graduated are reporting to taking on a student loan debt. And like I said before, it has been already researched and surveyed that student debt is one of the main financial stressors, especially for Latinos and Latinas entering to the workforce, but also starting their entrepreneurial journey. It is right there on top of not having financial confidence because of their financial future. So we are, to me, as a finance educator that focuses on financial trauma and that has a platform to educate about a different side of money, it's interesting to arrive to this topic and see, so what we are seeing is that what makes people stress is the weight of a student loan that you think is the only way that you have to get your education, and the weight of your future because you don't know how you're going to make it work. Now, the future thing, it's something that we don't have a lot of control over unless we prepare and all that, but we definitely have control over that student loan weight. And that's why I'm so excited to have this conversation. So what are perhaps the unique challenges Latino students face when it comes to student debt? And how does that shapes the way that they approach financing?
Yes, I mean, I think it really, like you were talking, is really about like the lack of financial literacy, right? Like, as you can imagine, many first-gen households, I know including myself back then, really didn't understand how interest work or the different, aid packages can work. And honestly, even like FAFSA, I've spoken to a lot of students that they kind of have that fear to even apply, right? Maybe due to their immigration status, or even if they're citizens or, DACA eligible. I think it's more like, hey, I don't want to touch that. Let me try to find a different loan. And before you know it, they end up getting into, different, more debt and all those things. And I think even, like you said, the societal pressure around maybe the cultural tax around like, I need to go to an Ivy League and all those things. And I think it's more of like, kind of chasing the shiny new things as opposed to kind of really being able to take as a whole and really understand, okay, what am I really getting myself into? So I think that that's like one of the biggest challenges. Number one, the unknown information, like you mentioned, the pressure, and that kind of impacts how they even view money. That can even go, and I know we'll get into the job market, later on, but I think that even dives in deeper into like, you get into a job and you don't even know about 4K or Roth IRA or even investment. It's more like, or even may not even get a job that even focuses on that, right? So I think it's a lot coming into the market or even, getting into yourself into more debt because you feel that maybe if I transfer here, go here, transfer these loans, and it just can kind of get, sinking a little bit deeper with that too.
I understand 100% that this is like we have seen failures on the system because at large we don't have financial education that speaks truly to that. It's more now the financial education that we are receiving and speaks on how to make it work with what is already messed up, right? But not really to prepare you to not be on that position. But also something that you said, which is super important to me, is about having that knowledge as a family, having that knowledge as a community so that we can walk through, like the young people going through college or going to the higher education knows the tools, but also knows that the shining objects, right? You don't have to do that if that is not your path. You don't have to go and have this student loan for a degree that you don't really feel called to or you don't feel in alignment with. I think those are two parts of financial education as well that we don't talk. And I definitely see myself inserting myself in that conversation with my own family because it's like, okay, this is a topic that we have to start putting on the table and see it from a 360 perspective. And in that sense, we touch on a community college, which is something that many avoid touching and talking about. What do you think that is and how community college can save you up to, you said, I think when we talked about before, it was around 20,000.
Yeah, so first of all, I do want to mention that I myself attended community college and then transferred to get a 4-year degree. So I know that right now there could be a lot of shame around like I don't, want to start in a community college because that may not be like a real school. I mean, I've heard so much terminology, so I think it really starts with giving yourself grace to recognize that school is school, degree is degree, but you want to make sure that you're going to go in there strategically, right? I know college obviously is an opportunity for you to figure it out. But of course, if you're currently in a position where like, okay, I still have to be strategic while I'm also figuring it out. So I always say like, okay, if you're going to go into community college, then you want to make sure that you're going in there with a strategic plan when it comes to the type of classes or even electives that you're going to pick, because not all of them transfer. And if not all of them transfer, that's where you kind of get into the weeds of, having to take additional classes and spending more money. And honestly, even give you the frustration of like, then what's the point, right? Like if I'm never going to be able to feel that I can achieve this certain degree because I kind of got myself into this loophole, I think it's important for you to, understand which credits are going to guarantee transfer, because there are some schools that, yes, you can get your associate's degree and they can transfer automatic, or it could be, hey, this is your first year plan and you can transfer next semester. Every school is different, but I think it's important to, maybe in high school, there are opportunities where you can take college classes that can give you that sense of curiosity for you to be able to potentially continue exploring in community college. But I think in order to ensure that you don't go down the rabbit hole of being able to save, right, I think it's important to kind of seek help, right? Talk to people who have gone in similar paths and saying like, hey, what school, talk to an advisor, what school that I know that is going to guarantee, my current degree. I mean, that's exactly what I did, because I was like, I'm going to be in community college, I'm going to get my degree. And then I ended up transferring, literally got my associates and then got my bachelor's all within a frame of all the total 4 years, right? So, I mean, obviously, I
Okay.
didn't end up taking a gap after I graduated, after with my bachelor's, but at least during the beginning, like I had a particular strategic plan.
Yeah. How long did it take you to craft this plan and how did you go about it? Because I think there is a lot of people listening to this episode and watching on LinkedIn right now. Maybe they're in that situation. Maybe their kids are in that situation. How can we help them to think strategically about going into community college and then doing the transfers so that they can save that money?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that I went to school over a decade ago. So obviously there has been a lot now. now there's a lot more resources available for students. So that's the first thing. Second,
Yes.
I think for me, being a first gen, being the eldest daughter of immigrant parents, of course, I didn't have a roadmap. So I had to just be like, all right, what are the resources that I have available? If not, I'm going to go find it. Literally, I had to go on Google and, right, kind of find like college advisors, right, that, were kind of offering this resource, or if I couldn't find it on campus, and really kind of play out. I mean, I knew going into community college that I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't know about social work back then, because obviously that's what I ended up getting my master's degree as well. But at least early on, all I knew is that I found the brain to be very fascinating. So I, ended up getting my degree in psychology, right? So I knew, okay, what are my current options, right? Do I just stay here 1 year, transfer, or, do I get my associates in psychology and then transfer over? So for me at that time, again, y'all, please do your research, because it's also going to be different from the particular background, industry that you're interested in as well, right? Especially for anyone who's in STEM, right? You want to make sure that you end up going specifically to be able to transfer to the school that's going to give you all the credits, right?
All
So
right.
for me back then, as I mentioned, I was able to they advised me to just get my associate psychology, and then I was able to apply to a 4-year school and then just finish out 2 more years there. So I truly only did 4 years in my entire bachelor's to get my bachelor's as well. So I think the biggest advice is, if you're a parent, obviously, there's a lot of resources out there that you can obtain, whether it's on Google, whether it's, consulting with a coach, whether it's working with a company, to kind of figure out what are the current resources that my child has, right? And if you're currently a student, same thing. You can figure out what are the resources that you have and what you don't have, and what is the information that you can obtain, whether it's accessing the resources on campus, talking to an alumni, or even doing a quick Google search.
Okay, so let's talk about scholarships, because that's the next step, right? Scholarships are tied to cultural identity, corporate ERGs that are not really widely discussed. Can you explain how these scholarships work and how first gen students should start looking for those?
Yes. So of course, there's a lot of scholarships, right? Of course, you can go
Mm-hmm.
to like College Board, right? But these scholarships are often funded by employee groups within companies like corporate, right? So there'll be like Latino ERGs, right? Or you can even, I feel like one of the largest ones in the United States is Hispanic Scholarship Fund, including Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. They do have a lot of scholarships. And I know when you say about scholarships, obviously everyone is going to have different requirements when it comes to the type of things that you have to do. But, the way that it works is, again, most of them have specific requirements. It could be as simple as you have this certain GPA and you want to get a degree in engineering, for example, right? Or you need to do an essay for you to get, this amount for you to be able to go into medical school. I'm just giving an example, right? Every scholarship has a particular different requirement in regards to the particular area that you may want to focus on, right? So even if you end up using keywords like Latino scholarships, first gen scholarships, right? Or even your potential intended major or industry, if like if you're currently in a space where like, I don't know, then just lean in with like Latino scholarships or first gen scholarships and see what comes up. And then you'll start seeing, okay, maybe there's a lot of scholarships in this particular field, and I'm actually kind of interested, right, in this particular industry. And you can even look up even more as well.
What are some of the most overlooked scholarships that you have heard of that everybody should be keeping an eye on, if you have like a list?
Yeah, so I would say, okay, of course, find out if your parents, right, are in a particular union or any particular, educational assistance that they offer for their kids, right? Like that would be number one. Of course, there's also essay contests. I know that, when you think about it, you're a college student, you're like, I don't want to write an essay.
Yeah.
Trust me, I hear it all the time where you're like, that's usually the essay that the scholarship that people overlook, because they're like, I don't want to do another essay. What's the point? I don't want to do. But those get often overlooked so much because they're probably like, oh, I'm not going to win. What's the point of me writing this essay? But there's a
True.
lot of, I personally have wrote many essays in my life to get certain scholarships, and it has worked, right?
Yeah.
But even looking up other, micro scholarships, like another platform that I know is like Raise Me or Going Mary. Again, you can literally Google these things. And I think, of course, you want to see, depending your state, if there's any unclaimed funds for particular residents. Honestly, even scholarships too, like for your employer. Let's say you're employed, right? Like,
Hmm.
I know we're gonna talk a little bit more about those tuition
Yes.
reimbursement. But I'll take a pause there.
Yeah. No, and that was going to be my next question, because we have touched on the scholarships, these employer groups, but what about employer tuition, which is something that many people don't understand, that you can actually get your employer to pay for that, which is a catch-22, because you will need a degree to find that job. But once you find that job, they may pay for the employer from your tuition. How the employee tuition assistant works, and really how can you position the best way possible that you want this assistance?
Yeah. So first thing that I highly, highly want to highlight is that these employee assistance programs, please look at all the details, right? Because of course, if you're already employed and they already offer this, of course, you want to be able to ensure like, okay, if you get this, most likely the job will require you for you to stay additional 2 years or plus after you earn this degree, right? Or there might be a particular annual limit, like, hey, we can only offer you
Right.
$5,000, for example, right? Or they may have this particular requirement or it's only in a particular field, right? Now, the same thing is also going to apply when you're interviewing for a role. You also want to make sure is that when do I become eligible for this? Right? Because it could be like you're in the interview, they're talking about benefits, or that you're getting an offer and then saying, hey, we offer tuition, reimbursement. Don't be afraid to ask, when would this kick in, right? After how many months or
Uh-huh.
years of employment? Especially if you're currently in like, hey, I'm in school right now, right? Like I need these funds right now versus, hey, you have to be working for the company a year or two, right? You want to be able to assess, hey, can I wait this amount, right? So I think it's about kind of looking at all of those things and even asking yourself, right? Like, do I want to commit? Will I commit, right? After I graduate in this particular field, right? Especially if it's something that you're like, they're offering this,
Right.
but it may not be the field that I want, right? So I think it's important for you to take a look at all of your options, right? Like, don't be afraid. And this is coming from a recruiter as well, right? I've worn many hats and have been a recruiter for the past 6 years as well. And I think it's important for you to feel empowered enough to ask questions to hiring manager or recruiters, right? Like, of course, when you're talking over, right? Not that the first interview you're gonna be like, what is the tuition reimbursement, right? Because it's
Okay.
like, well,
So
oh,
so let's have that on our minds. You are interviewing somebody that will be a fit for that job, and they are on the benefits interview part of, like, the part of the interview. How would they approach this conversation particularly? What can they ask, and how they can ask for it to become something that they will hear about, something that is not going to be like, why are you asking about this now?
yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really you're in the interview process. You have every right to ask all of the questions that you need answered in order to make the best decision for you, right? So, of course, every company is going to be different. They may say, hey, we'll provide you all the specifics, right? Because it could be something that, they don't want to disclose until you sign an offer, right? Specifically when it comes to the terms, they could do that. But I think you can have some core information to be able to ask them, like, can you tell me what are the current details regarding, or the eligibility, right? What is the current
Yeah.
eligibility process to be eligible for tuition reimbursement? Right? And then
Uh,
from there, the hope would be, yes, we offer this in this particular major. You must be working for this amount of time, right? The goal is that they hopefully say that. And if they don't be afraid to ask the number one question. Number one question is the eligibility, right?
right.
And for what areas of practice and industry. I think those are the number two that you're going to know, am I going in there to waste my time or not, right? Because if they say, hey, this is after 2 years, then do you want to do two
Right.
years? Or they may say, hey, you're eligible right away, but we only offer this for people that are going into STEM. And let's say you're like, I'm not interested
Uh-huh.
in STEM, right? So those are the two main questions that I highly recommend that you should get answered, because at the end of the day, you want to make an informed decision, especially if you're interviewing for other companies.
Love it. Haleini, is there anything else that we can provide so that somebody listening to this, watching this live, that is about to take the decision on getting into their higher education and is looking to, do I take a student loan or do I try other paths? It's anything else that we have not touched that you think it's important for them to know?
Of course. I mean, I wouldn't be a licensed social worker that didn't talk about mental health. I think it's important to,
Yes.
again, give yourself grace. There's going to be a lot of unknown. There's still a lot of unknown when it comes to just trying to navigate the next steps in your career, in your education. I think it's important to, recognize everything that you have accomplished up until this day, and to give yourself a pat in the back that even though, your end goal may seem super, super far away, or that anxiousness when it comes to how am I going to afford this, you will find your way, right? And I know that right now it may not seem like it, but you are going to be able to gain those resources, right? I mean, hey, there's LinkedIn out there to kind of build that community, find alumni that maybe went to your school, that maybe already working for, a particular industries, or find a financial literacy coach, right? Like Alejandra, right? Like I really,
Yes.
there to educate students on like what are the particular options, right? Like don't be afraid to seek outside help out of the resources that you currently have, right? Because I know sometimes if we don't have certain resources, then it will make it feel like, am I the issue? Like, am I the only one? But reality is you're not the only
Right.
one, right?
Can
You're not
can I
alone.
just double down on that?
Yeah.
This just goes back to the tech talk that I just did, the emotional side of money, because with finances and not being able to have the $40,000, the $50,000 that requires you to pay for one semester of your career, to not be able to come up with those funds can seem such isolating issue. It's like, I don't have the funds. I am, the shame it's kind of like the financial shame that comes to you, and you start to walk away and minimize you, and your mind starts to wonder why you don't have those funds. If they say it's 50,000, why you cannot make it? It should be, it is like a you problem, but it's not. It is not a you problem. It is not an isolated that is just happening to you or to the people in your community. It's not only happening to the people that you see around because everybody's struggling. No, this is a systematic issue. Remember that student debt is the number one stressor for many Americans, for many people around the world. So it is a systematic thing that people need to go through, and there is nothing to be ashamed of if you have to look for different ways to better position yourself and your financial future. The shame comes when you think, I should have the funds, and because I don't, then the shame has a space to appear. What I'm telling you here as a finance educator focuses on financial trauma is that shame has not a space when you understand that this is a systematic issue, and that you have the right and the potential to look for ways on how to better position yourself financially, because that is going to count for the rest of your life. In average, a person takes about 35 years or more to finish paying out their student loans. So way after you go to that school and you do everything, you will still need to go back and say, I have a student debt still. And you don't want that. So yes.
One thing too I want to mention is that your degree is your investment, right? So don't be afraid, like Alejandra mentioned, to also build your path, right? Like you're gonna be able to create your own roadmap to success. To not let school put you in a box. And listen, this is coming from someone who has 3 degrees, because I got my associate's, bachelor's, and master's. I still have student loan debt, right? And I say
Right.
that because at the end of the day, we all have it. It doesn't define us, right? We can't let that define our worth, and we can't let that define our journey. It's there. We're gonna figure it out, right? And I think that's the most important thing, is to kind of recognize that just because you get yourself into that doesn't mean that you can't get yourself out of it. And it doesn't mean that, your worth is any less because you have this, right? So I also want to validate anyone who's currently in a position like, well, Haleini, I already got myself in there. That's okay. Give
Right.
yourself, you're going to be able to, again, achieve the success that you desire as long as you're not tying that to your worth, right? Like, how did I get myself into this or that versus like, no, it happened. I'm giving myself grace. Give yourself grace, and we're going to figure it out together.
Okay, did you hear something that you liked in today's episode? If so, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead right now. Yes, right now, before this episode ends, and send this episode to those 3 friends, 3 girlfriends that you know you can go to talk about finance, independence, money, business growth, entrepreneur life, and all of these juicy topics. Share this episode with them, because that is the only way we can grow together. I'm Alejandra Rojas, your host, and I will see you next week.